What's good everybody, welcome back to Game Rebooted. If the title and thumbnail didn't give it away, this week's video is the top 10 most annoying video game mechanics and tropes of all time. As always, the list is subjective, so if there's any video tropes or mechanics you find annoying that didn't appear on the list, let me know down in the comments. And now it's time to move on to those ever important rules. Today's rules are very simple, there's only two of them. Rule number 1, subscribe to Game Rebooted for more videos. It would really help us out reach our 100 subscriber goal. And rule number 2, just sit back and enjoy the video. It's as simple as that. Kicking off the list at number 10 is empty open worlds. So many games boast vast, lively open worlds, from Assassin's Creed to Zelda. One of my favourite things in gaming is to explore these worlds. It makes the game feel more immersive when the world you are exploring feels lived in, with things to do and stuff to find. Take GTA 5 for example. Every corner of Los Santos feels lived in, and there's so many secrets to find and activities to complete. It feels like we are part of the world. So when a game where the open world is dead and boring to explore, usually nothing more than a wasteland or a desert with nothing to explore other than the linear path the story sends you along, you don't become as invested in a game. Why care about saving a world that puts us to sleep when we try to explore it? Take Fuel for example, an open world racing game from 2009, boasting one of the biggest open worlds in gaming at the time, with absolutely nothing to do within the world. Other than the boring races, the world itself is completely useless. You can spend hours exploring and try not to find anything more interesting than the same tree over and over again. If you can't make a world seem lively or fun to explore, then just don't bother making it open world. Keep the game as linear as possible. Not every game has to be open. Linear games do work just as good, and if you put a dead, lifeless world in your game, you're only going to make it seem much worse than it is, and just put players to sleep rather than entertaining them. Speaking of putting people to sleep, at number 9 we have when a game forces you to walk slow. What's worse than an empty open world? Well, how about when a game decides to stop all your momentum and forces you to walk slowly across the map? This usually happens at the very start of a game, when a character for some reason is still learning how to walk and look around. But there are other times it's because we are forced to listen to someone drone on and on about some pointless shit that adds nothing to the story. Some games actually do this really well and manage to keep us immersed, but most of the time they leave us screaming at our monitors to just let us run around and get on with the game. Now obviously it goes without saying, there can be good reasons for this. Some games are smart and hide loading screens in these sections, or sometimes it's for story reasons, but that doesn't really stop it being annoying. If you're going to force us to walk like a snail for 20 minutes, at least make the walking automatic so I can rest my hands and go grab a drink. At number 8 we have graphics over gameplay and or story. This is actually something that has been putting me off gaming lately, and it seems to be more and more common every year. All developers seem to care about these days is how good their game looks, or how many stupid ass dust particles are in the air, but none of this even matters slightly when your game is as fun as watching paint dry. I would much rather play an 8-bit arcade game from the 1980s that is actually fun than one of these copy and paste 4K mind-numbing games. Half of the time they are broken as fuck too, and completely unplayable. While amazing graphics are gorgeous to look at and can make the gaming experience much more enjoyable, there is nothing more important in gaming than the game actually being fun. That's the whole point of gaming, is to have fun. A perfect example of this is Horizon Zero Dawn for the PlayStation. In my opinion, one of the best looking games I've ever played, and one of the most fun games too. Here's hoping the trend of graphics over gameplay dies off soon, before gaming dies completely. Up at number 7 is unpauseable story games. We've all been there in the middle of an intense gaming session. You're being attacked from every side, every move you make is critical, and then there's a knock on the door. You hit the pause button, you go to answer the door, but when you return you find yourself on the game over screen. You wonder, did you press the wrong button? Did you forget to pause the game? No, the stupid game kept playing in the background, resulting in your death, probably setting you back hours of game time because you forgot to save it. It makes sense to be unable to pause a game in an online multiplayer, but in a single player game, where you're the only other player there, it makes no sense at all. They always recommend us to take breaks when gaming, but taking away the ability to pause a game pretty much contradicts that. This is one gaming mechanic I will never understand. A possibly controversial one here at number 6 now, it's snow levels. I have a feeling most people won't agree with me on this one, but I hate snow levels in video games. Everyone complains about water levels to a point of it becoming a trend to hate water levels, but in my opinion, snow levels are so much worse and 100 times annoying. A well-designed snow level will look nice, but it will force your characters to move slowly, and as we established at number 9, being forced to walk slow is annoying. But with snow levels, you're not just forced to walk slow, everything is slow. Walking, running, jumping, your entire game almost comes to a complete halt. Snow levels always feel so tedious. The main problem with a snow level is the better and more realistic it's made, the worse it is to play in. I know this entry is more of a personal one for me, but I would much rather have a water level than a snow level in a video game. If anybody watching this agrees, please let me know in the comments. Halfway mark at number 5 is the inability to climb over small, waist-high objects. This one just makes no sense at all. How does a 2-foot tall box stop me in my tracks and not allow me to move forward? How stupid is our protagonist that he can't even climb over the smallest objects? Some games use small objects like boxes or rubble to mark against boundaries. That's fine, I have no problems with that at all. But when it comes to a wooden box in the middle of the road, and I have to walk around it rather than jumping over or destroying it, it just makes me laugh how a waist-high object can stop us completely in our tracks. This is a game mechanic that needs to go, especially when it's in a game that allows the players to jump, but not jump over the small objects like Call of Duty for example. It's just so stupid, it makes me feel like less of a badass. Just missing out on the top 3 spot at number 4, we have unskippable cutscenes. Now don't get it twisted, I love cutscenes. Video games are one of the best storytelling mediums of the modern day. I mostly play story games and cutscenes are a very important part of telling the story. But every game should have the option to be able to skip a cutscene. First of all, not everyone wants to sit through cutscenes and just want to play through the game. Then there's the players who like the story but have already completed it once and just want a quick playthrough without the cutscenes. Taking away the ability to skip a cutscene can be really annoying for someone who just wants to play the game. And finally, there's the times when you sit through a 10-minute cutscene only to die to some invincible boss straight after, and then being forced to sit through the same 10-minute cutscene every time you die. Games should always give a player the choice to skip a cutscene. Leave it to the player's choice if they want to watch the story or not. On to the top 3 now, and taking the 3rd place spot is escort missions. Yes, everyone's least favourite mission type, slow, boring, often tedious escort missions. I don't know a single person who enjoys these mission types. Seriously, why do they even exist? Nobody wants to be escorting a slow and stupid NPC who either moves at the pace of a slug or is so dumb they constantly get in the way of your shots. Natalia from GoldenEye on the N64 always comes to mind when I think of these missions. Half the time I would fail the mission because she would annoy me so much I would fire a whole clip into her big ass forehead. Developers even need to stop using these mind-numbing missions, or at the very least make them more interesting. From Natalia to Ashley Graham from Resident Evil 4, I cannot think of a single good escort mission. If you know of an escort mission that's done right, let me know in the comments, I'd love to check it out. Taking the number 2 spot is the illusion of choice. Don't you just hate it when a game constantly tries to get you to make decisions, only to realise your choice means absolutely nothing at all? Whether it be through dialogue options or a decision we have to make during the game, it's so frustrating trying to work out the best choice only to realise that your choice didn't matter at all, and either option had the same outcome. The worst offender of this was Mass Effect 3, a full game of choices from dialogue options to relationships. The whole way through you think your choice matters, you carefully select the right choice for a certain style of playthrough, only for none of our choices to matter at the end of the game, when in the very final moments of the game we're given yet another meaningless choice. This time we are given 3 options. Do we follow the red, green or blue lasers? There is a reason to all 3, but each choice is so irrelevant because no matter what we picked or how we choose to play the game, once we make that final decision, we are treated to the near identical endings regardless of our choices. In all fairness, BioWare did try to fix this by changing the ending with some DLC, but so many games trick us into thinking that our choices matter, when in fact it doesn't. At the very least we should get a different ending for all the stress of choosing gave us, but nope, we never do. It's always the same damn thing. And finally, taking the number 1 spot is loot not changing your appearance. This is one that has annoyed me for years, for as long as I can remember. Equipping things like helmets, armour, pants, whatever it be, without your character's looks ever changing. We equip some awesome looking helmet, only for our in-game character to still not be wearing the helmet at all. As I got older, I realised this was mostly due to a limitation of the software at the time. But to see games in 2022 still do this really annoys me. Why have all these awesome looking clothes and armour in our inventories if the only thing changing is the stats? We might as well just have a basic icon showing us what slot they go in. Can you imagine the disappointment of looting the coolest looking piece of armour in the game, only to equip it and have nothing change at all? It seriously annoys me to the point in which sometimes I have stopped playing games just because of this. Am I the only one who this annoys? If it bothers you too, let me know in the comments. Well, that's it, we've reached the end of today's list. Thanks everybody for watching. I've been James from Game Rebooted, and I will see you in the next video.